Hello, if you're new here, my name is Mercy, and today I just wanted to share how I found out that I have cancer. So in August, it was August 21st, 2025, I woke up in the morning and I was having a little bit of back pain, and I called my husband and I told him, hey, I'm not feeling too hot for whatever reason. This back pain that I was having was like radiating like from my back like around to like my hip area, and it was just something that I had not really felt before. So I was a little concerned, just because it progressively just got a little worse and a little worse. So I worked from home and I signed into work. I started working and it just got to the point where the pain was excruciating, and I had to log off of work. My son came home from school that day, and I remember that I was just like screaming into a pillow in agony of how bad this pain was. So I decided, you know what, I can't hold it any longer. I'm gonna go to the emergency room, and that's what I did. I went to the emergency room. They checked me out. Everything came back great, and they gave me medications because they were telling me that it seemed like I was having muscle spasms. So they gave me some medication, sent me home, and I was good. But I never really 100% felt better after that. I was constantly putting heat on my back. I was taking medication for pain, which kind of like calmed down that severeness that I was having, but it was always still lingering. But now fast forward 11 days after that initial emergency room visit. I went throughout the entire day. I was cleaning the house. I was doing a bunch of stuff, and all of a sudden I got the pain again. Again, like the last time, progressively just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where it puts me in so much anguish that it was driving me insane of how bad the pain was. And quickly I told my son, hey, bring me the medication. Let me just take something now because I haven't taken anything all day long, and see if it calms down. My husband had just left the house, and I told my husband, hey, this pain is coming back. Just giving you a heads up in case I need you to return back home. So the pain lasted about 45 minutes, and I told my son, I have a feeling this is going to come back. I'm going to go upstairs and take a shower since I had been cleaning all day. I'm going to go home, go upstairs and take a shower, get ready. So in case I have to go back to the emergency room, at least I'm clean. So did that. We ended up having dinner, and I told my husband, you know what? I'm going to call it a night. I'm gonna go to sleep early because I feel drained and I have a little bit of tenderness still on my back. The moment that my body touched that bed, it was like, no, you're not. And it was full blown pain all over again. I was pacing from like about maybe almost 10 o'clock at night all the way until about 12 o'clock in the morning, pacing back and forth. I felt like the best way to compare this pain was labor pains. My pelvic, like my lower back, my upper back, I was having pelvic pain, like pressure. I felt like my hips it was just, again, best way to describe it was like labor pain. Like my hips wanted to expand. It was hard for me to walk. It was hard for me to breathe. It was so intense to a point again where I was like low-key like screaming into my hands, screaming into a pillow, and my husband and my son were just thinking that I was just like being extra, thinking that I just couldn't handle whatever little pain I was having, which was not little pain. Anyways, at the end of the day, like about 12 o'clock, I decided, you know what, that's it, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to the hospital again. I went into the hospital. They did their little tests. Everything was coming back fine. They did like I think it was a CAT scan. CAT scan came back fine. They couldn't find what was going on. Again, they wanted to just because I was in so much pain, and I kept telling them there has to be something wrong. There can't be I can't be in this much pain, and you don't even find like a pinched nerve on my back, because I thought maybe it was a pinched nerve or something, that you're not finding, even like a pinched nerve or anything. This cannot be muscle spasms. It's horrible. And they left me overnight for observation. And the next day, I had, them doing labs and stuff. And I just, for whatever reason, I started to notice, like bruising on my legs and just bruises that I didn't come in with. And all of a sudden I had bruises everywhere, especially like on my lower half. And I knew something was wrong when someone from hematology and oncology had came in. As soon as I saw that, like, I had chills, and I'm like, okay, something's not right. So she just explained, hey, we wanted to keep you, your lab works came back a little off, and we're just going to keep you maybe just like another day to, to see if the lab work, we're going to redo your lab work and wait till the following day to see where it's at, because it's just a little too off. And I said, okay. So the provider that was on that evening came in, and they said they were going to give me a discharge. And I was just like, that's so weird, because I remember the lady from oncology and hematology came in and said we were going to keep you for one more day. So I went ahead and reached out to the nurse and let them know, hey, the lady from hematology came in and said we were going to leave me again, one more night, because we're waiting on lab work. And she went to investigate, and she came back and she said, we're going to be halting your discharge. And then a little while later, again, she came back and said, you're not being discharged, you're going to be admitted. So I started to something was up. I just knew it. So they put me into the other room, and a couple hours later, the lady from hematology came in like a bat out of hell, and she's like, you're not going anywhere. I had to fight to keep you here because the ER doctor that was seeing you wanted to give you a discharge, but we had significant findings in your labs, and he was trying to just like brush it off like it was nothing. So I had to fight for you to be able to stay here. And I am so grateful for that lady. She basically said, as a mother, she was like, I need to go home. I need to pick up my babies, blah, 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 blah. But I want to come back later on today because it's really important for me to do this bone marrow biopsy for you. I want to make sure that, we're going to X out either you have a bone infection or, it's some type of cancer like leukemia is what she was saying. So I was like, okay. So I said, I completely understand. Do what you got to do. And she did. She left and she came back hours later and she was ready to perform this bone marrow biopsy. And she did. The very next day, we had, this was like the oncology team, I guess, that came in the morning. And he was like, well, we've already sent out your bone marrow, the biopsy. If it is something related to cancer, information will start to trickle in little by little. If it's not, it's going to take a little bit longer. But as soon as we start getting any kind of information, we'll start to let you know. And I said, okay, no problem. But I remember that I had access to like labs and stuff through the portal, the patient portal. And I went into the patient portal, and the first thing I noticed was when I was checking on my labs that my platelets, which with every single lab work that they did, was getting progressively lower and lower and lower. It got to a point that one time it got down to like 17. And then the other thing that I noticed, which completely triggered me, was my ferritin levels was like 4,300. And the only reason why it had triggered me was because a month prior I had went to my regular physician and I was telling him, hey, I'm losing hair, like a lot of hair, and I want you to check my ferritin levels. I want to make sure that they're okay, because if not, I want to take some supplements to make sure that, because of my age, that they're where it's helping me keep my hair. So we had checked the ferritin levels and they were like a 30 something. And for my age, it should have been, not my age, but to keep for good hair, nail, health, it should be maybe like a 75. These levels were like at 4,300. And another time it was like 3,300. I mean, they were super, super high. And at that point I started to cry because I started to look at all my labs and they were all either very low, like in the red, or very high in the red. And I'm like, is my body shutting down? Like, what is going on? Like, I couldn't understand why my levels were coming back, all out of whack. So sorry. So I told the nurse that was in charge, I'm like, hey, I need to speak to my doctor because this is crazy. Like, what's going on? What's going on? And so that I was crying because I was looking at all my labs, I have the provider who I had seen that was part of the oncology team come in rushing, and he was like, why are you crying? What's going on? What's going on? And he saw that I had my labs open. He's like, don't look at your labs. I'm going to explain to you what's going on and why everything is looking so high. So he said, we have information. Your information has started to come in. You know, he basically, you know, I'm sorry, you know, to tell you, but yes, you've been diagnosed with leukemia. And it was like the biggest blow I had ever got. I felt like I got gut punched. I was in shock that I was getting this diagnosis, because I would have never in a million years thought that that's something that would have happened, or that I would be diagnosed with that. Anyways, pause 1 second. So, okay, I had the initial shock, and okay, what do we do now? So now I had to get, at that moment when he had came in, I was getting prepped to get a platelet infusion or transfusion, whatever it's called, because my platelets had been dropping so much, my blood wasn't clotting. So it was like a bunch of stuff. They had to give me like injections in my stomach to help with like the clotting, just a whole bunch of things that they were doing. So at that point, we're gonna transfer you now to the cancer center, which is Miami Institute of Cancer, here in Miami. So I got transferred over, and I was there I was there for a good while. And the whole time that I was there in the beginning, before we even started chemo, I was in so much pain. I have never felt that much agony in pain. I couldn't believe that type of pain that I was getting was associated to leukemia. Well, come to find out, it's, just to give you a quick rundown, your bone marrow creates, like, I guess, white blood cells, and when you have leukemia, it creates abnormal cells. So those cells were getting jam-packed inside the bone marrow, and because they have no place to go, it was like they were just, think of a traffic jam inside the bone marrow, and it was your bones are trying to expand, and bone doesn't expand, and that's where the pain was coming. So it was so bad. Like, I never want to experience that ever again. Anyways, when they finally came to me and talked to me about my chemo treatment, it was for 7 days, and the very first day that I had my chemo, I think it was the last day that I had any kind of pain. It was like, I couldn't believe that just one dose of chemo helped me with my pain as much as it did. Of course, it was because my chemo also came with like a steroid medication that helped, for a few days, and then later on they basically took it off. So never again did I experience any more pain after my first chemo treatment. Now fast forward to Thanksgiving Day, or the day before Thanksgiving, I had to go into the hospital so I can get this central line put in, because I was going to get admitted on Thanksgiving Day to in preparation for my bone marrow transplant, which was December 5th. So I went in and I had 4 days, I think it was 3 days of chemo, and then I had four sessions of radiation, but it was 2 sessions a day, so I had 8 total. And then the very next day after my last so I had 3 days chemo, then 4 days of radiation. On my last day of radiation, the very next day, I had my bone marrow transplant, and that was, for me, was like the best day ever, because it was like my reborn day. It's like I mentioned before, someone's generosity is going to help me live live my life, basically my second chance. And then after my bone marrow transplant, I can't remember, it was a couple days later or a week later. I know that I had I think three more days of another chemo treatment that basically was used to calm down the donor cells to prevent what's called graft versus host disease, where it's basically that the donor cells would attack my cells because they see me as an intruder, or and they start to attack me, which thankfully for right now, the only symptoms I might have had of graft versus host disease was that I had like a little bit of a rash on my face, super mild, just for a few days, in and out. I haven't had any other symptoms, and they don't expect me to have any symptoms because thankfully for me, my donor was 100% match. He was non-related. I don't know anything from him other than it's a male. And I just literally today, because I was going through my paperwork, just as a research for like information that I had forgot about for this video, particularly, I found out that he was 30 years old. So, or that he is 30 years old. So I won't be able to find out any other information on my donor for at least a year from the transplant date. We were told that we would be able to exchange information if we both want to. So it'll be a year before I even get to tell this person thank you. But as of right now, knock on wood, no issues whatsoever other than having nausea and some vomiting. I was feeling very fatigued in the beginning when I finally came home, and my hair is finally growing back after this session, because I had maybe like this much more hair when I started the chemo right before my transplant, and it all fell out. I was literally able to like pull it out, and anyways, things are getting much better. I am feeling better every day, and I'm like confident, and in Jesus' name I am healed. And I think it's just from here on out everything will be a-okay. If there's any more updates, I will update you guys, but as of right now, that is my story. That's how I found out that I have leukemia, and where I'm at with it right now. So if you like this video, I would love for you guys to help me by supporting my channel by, maybe commenting, saying, whatever you want, an emoji, liking this video, and even subscribing to my channel. So thank you again for listening to my story. I hope that maybe even a little bit of this, if you're going through it, it gives you, a little bit of hope to know that everything will be okay. Medicine is advancing, and I'm very hopeful for myself and anyone else who gets diagnosed with this disease. So, all right. So thanks again for watching, and hopefully you'll stick around to watch my other videos. All right. Bye.